What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is Comic Book News, the show where I'm trying to put together everything that's happened in the past week, give you a summary, and how it might impact your comic books in the future. Make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single time that they come out. The one that I want to talk about to begin with is, of course, the big move of Brian Michael Bendis to DC, which is something I've already discussed in a Comic News video, but the big thing is we finally know what he's going to be writing for DC Comics. Starting in July, after the end of a series, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later in the video, he is going to be taking over the writing duties for Superman as well as Action Comics. He's already got a small little story that's being written in Action Comics number 1000, and then there's going to be a several-month hiatus before Bendis takes things over. Of course, Superman is also going to end Peter J. Tomasi and everybody else's run on the book, and it's going to renumber at number 1 when Bendis takes over. So there's a lot of really serious indicators as to what kind of level of commitment they have to Brian Michael Bendis. They're giving him the flagship character for DC, they're giving him both flagship books, and ultimately they're giving him free reign to really kind of create this environment that's around him. In the Forbes article that really broke this information, he went into a bit more detail as to what his concepts are. You know, you've got Superman, which is going to be dealing with Superman-type actions, but Action Comics is something that he's looking to create a little bit more awareness around the city of Metropolis. So since Gotham has been such a key component, it's basically a character unto itself in the Batman universe, he wants to do the same thing for Metropolis. So if we're going to be dealing with the day-to-day activities of Superman, if we're going to be dealing with Lois Lane, how the environment really reacts when Superman's there and when Superman's not there, it could be really interesting. And since Brian Michael Bendis has already helmed the most popular character in Marvel by writing Ultimate Spider-Man and then creating Miles Morales and also writing the Avengers, it's not like he can't handle a big character. However, he has been a little hit or miss when it comes to some people's interpretation of his writing. Depending on the situation, I've been one of them. So I am eager with anticipation to see exactly what's going on with Bendis and how he's going to take over these two books and maintain this and really evolve the character of Superman as he sees fit, I guess. You know, he's dedicated to the character. He's from the roots of that particular, character. So I'm excited, and I feel, oh man, the anticipation is just kind of killing me. The next thing that I want to talk about is the series that it spins out of, and that is No Justice. Teased in Batman Lost number 1, this is Scott Snyder's kind of journey into the event space beyond DC's Dark Knight's Metal. So when we're talking about No Justice, it was teased on the bookcase inside Batman Lost number 1, and what it is a grouping of several teams inside the DC universe. So that is going to include Justice League of America, Teen Titans, and they're all going to go on this kind of roller coaster weekly ride for this No Justice event. But the real key is that spinning out of this, all the teams are going to change and be different. And then once we're out of No Justice, Scott Snyder is going to be taking over the writing duties for Justice League, which is a hugely anticipated thing. It's just crazy to get, Scott Snyder onto the book. First off, we started with Brian Hitch, who I wasn't really a huge fan of his run. We're getting into Christopher Priest, who writes a different, more nuanced and more focused, like a very focused story when it comes to Justice League. And then you've got Scott Snyder, who really specializes in big, outlandish, creative, bombastic events and structures. It's one of those things where I'm really anticipating what he can do. Of course, that might not be good news for everybody if they're not a fan of Scott Snyder and his writing style, but you have to say that there's a lot of stuff that can go on, and he always draws top-tier artistic talent to his creative endeavors, so you're probably going to really enjoy the look of the book. However, this is all leading from a book called DC Nation number 0, which is actually going to play into another thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the wedding of Batman and Catwoman. So the date has been set for the wedding of Batman and Catwoman, and that is Batman number 50. So issue number 50 is going to be where we see this, and then inside DC Nation number 0, we get kind of a prelude to this because the Joker finds out about the nuptials between Batman and Catwoman. And you've got to take a look at what this story really means and how this is going to evolve into Batman number 50 and possibly issues before in order to kind of get an idea where the Joker is going to take this knowledge and what he's going to use it for. So that's a really intriguing plot line that they're including in that. There's a lot of other stuff that's going to be happening in DC Nation number 0. I mean, it's going to lead into Brian Michael Bendis' kind of single mini-series with multiple different artists called Man of Steel, and there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. It's not necessarily a reboot of the Rebirth universe. However, it is kind of giving you a status quo update on where everything's at and a forward look as to where things are going in the future. Last but not least, I want to talk about Valiant Entertainment, and Valiant Comics have been a real recent mainstay inside my pull list, particularly a few different books like Eternity. I had a really fun time with that 4-issue miniseries. I really enjoy Exo Manowar. Matt Kinn has done a fantastic job with that. And then, of course, you got Bloodshot Salvation, which is written by Jeff Lemire. These are books that I really enjoy picking up, and a lot of people in my comments section, they really enjoy Secret Weapons or Harbinger Renegades, a bunch of other different books that come from Valiant because they have a very unified, singular approach to their universe. And that was primarily caused by their CEO, Dinesh. However, Valiant was just recently acquired by DMG, which is more of a digital media production company, and this is kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say unsettling, but it's really something that you need to pay attention to, because the CEO of that company is basically phasing Dinesh out, as these takeover transitions usually do, and he's going to be focusing primarily on the development of Valiant as a movie property, TV property, and in other endeavors. So the focus on comic book publishing is going to kind of go by the wayside. So I'm not sure what that's really going to mean for the comic books that we currently enjoy and love. However, the statement that he issued when we're talking about this takeover is that he is looking to not silo comic book writers and only keep them in the comic book space, but really expand them into film, television, other endeavors, which I'd assume would be like online streaming services, animation, those kind of things, to really capitalize on what Valiant has as far as properties. So if you're a Valiant fan, this is something that you really need to keep a close eye on in order to make sure that you still get the stories you love, or you don't. But I want to know what comic book news stories that you guys are really interested in. If you have any other questions for me about these, let's start that discussion right down in the comments. As always, if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe so that you can get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.